What's going on, guys? Dayton here, aka Dr. Autoflower. We are back with another video. Today we're going to get into a little bit of a story time. Talk about the very first time I started growing my official Autoflower garden. And it was it was pretty funny. It was very Trailer Park Boy style. It wasn't a trailer. We had some Corey and Trevor's around. It was a gong show, but I'll get into the story. So it was my first official time growing autos. It was the first time I ever ordered seeds online from an actual reputable autoflower breeder. And this was back in, I think, 2009 or 2010 or something like that. I think this was back in about 2010-ish or so. Maybe 2011, somewhere around there. And that was just when autoflowers started picking up on their popularity, when they started getting more popular on forums. There was still a lot of hate on autoflowers back then, forum people, where you get a lot of your information back then, before everyone was posted on YouTube because it was a little sketchy back then. There was a lot of hate going on for autoflowers. The photo period crowd, a lot of them really didn't like it, thought it was like regressive, but autoflowers kept getting better and better and better, proving everyone wrong. But before we get into the story, guys, make sure you smash that like button. It really helps a lot. Let's try to get 1,000 likes on this video. I know there's a bunch of you out there. The algorithm really messes with you if you're not posting all the time. So if you guys can smash the like button, it really helps. If you guys can leave a comment, really helps. I got a few days off, so I want to make some extra content, to have some content rolling on the channel. Just the other day, I got my license renewed, so I'll get into that. I'll probably do a video on that, how I go about that here in Canada. And yeah, let's get right into the story, guys. And I'll get into how I grew my profile picture. The one that looks like a hand giving you the finger and with a big smiley face in it. So as some of you may know, my autoflower journey started with just stumbling upon them, growing them without even realizing I was growing autoflowers. And then when I finally realized about them, then I started really researching and really getting right into it, and really got into the little subculture of autoflowers. And back then it was a very new thing. If you're into stealth growing, it was very appealing compared to photo periods. It was just a different way of growing. And back then, before I was fully legal, I was definitely taking a risk because I was posting pictures and stuff. Some grower friends I had who are a little gangster told me I was super stupid and I'll have cops on me. I wasn't that heady, so I didn't really have that issue compared to if someone else was doing that, I guess. But yeah, I really got into documenting my grows, showing people how I did my grows, learning from other people. And that was pretty much the start of the autoflower community. Everyone on forums showing what they're doing, showing their techniques. So I did my research and I started looking around, and I wanted to get some autoflower seeds that were super dank, more on the indica side, more of the like dank, stony, kind of couch locky stuff. That's kind of what I like compared to like the more sativas and the uppity kind of. But yeah, I went online and I got some seeds from Short Stuff Seeds, and I believe somewhere else the other ones were AK-47 autoflowers. They might have been both Short Stuff Seeds. It was Russian Rocket Fuel and AK-47 autoflower. But I did my research. I saw that these were awesome genetics. People were getting some really good results with them and saying the bud was really high quality. So after I did my research, I was more than confident to do the ordering, get them online, and I wasn't too worried about getting the seeds back then. It was pretty chill. I remember sometimes they would send it in like a CD case and were like really hide it in there good. So they used to be really sneaky back in the day. I also documented this grow with pictures. Back then I wasn't really doing video, very little video in my grows. So it was mostly all pictures, but I can show you guys a little slideshow of this. So after I had my seeds ordered up, I had no gear. So I had to go get all new gear. And back then there wasn't an Amazon to just hop on and order all your stuff. No, and there wasn't any grow equipment stores anywhere around me. The closest one was actually around 4.5 hour drive for me, like one way, and then I have to do another 4.5 hour drive back, so 9 hours in total to go get some grow gear. So one day I wanted to do a little road trip. I was living with my brother at the time, so one day I wanted to do a little road trip where I was living with my brother at the time, and he wanted to get into it too, and he wanted to put some money in to get some lights and some equipment. So I came up with the plan with everything we needed. I headed down south to do the road trip to go find some equipment, and it was actually a really nice experience. Back then, it was like kind of like like a sketchy adventure, like because I've heard stories of cops would sit outside grow stores. If you're buying grow gear, they might be sitting outside taking note, taking your license plate. Who knows what they would be doing? But it was a little sketchy, so I parked a little ways away because you didn't want to like park right next to the building. Went in there, and they wouldn't even talk about like growing for Canada stuff. They would like, oh, you want to grow tomatoes? Wink, wink. And like, oh yeah, I want to grow tomatoes. And they, okay, you need this light. So what I did was get 3 of the 400-watt HPSs. They were a bit hot, but for back then, back in 2010, 2011, they were pretty much all you needed for grow gear. I think they costed me around like 200 or something each. So definitely, I probably paid a bit more than what you would pay now. But yeah, that was a fun little experience to do. Something you probably not get to experience unless you're in a more illegal country, I guess, where it's a little more sketchy. You don't get that thrill anymore compared to the thrill you'd get before legalization and all that. So back then I wasn't using tents, didn't even think of the idea. It seemed like too overpriced compared to just buying poly plastic and then just put that up in the wall and kind of make a barrier. So I kind of just made a rectangular barrier, and that would kind of keep all the light in. It actually worked really good and only cost me like $50. But I didn't like I think it was called Panda Film or something like that. I didn't like that it was kind of had this powdery residue on it. So I'm really OCD, and like when there's like random powdery stuff on my equipment, that really freaks me out, and I don't like that because I'm thinking, oh, well, that's going to get on my buds and then I'm going to be smoking that. So I don't know, I had really cleaned that all up as best as I could do, but I didn't really like that. It was a very trailer park boy-esque setup. Definitely not something I would do ever again compared to having a proper setup now. But it was fun. And I remember I put it in my bedroom. So I gave up my bedroom and I went to go sleep on the couch for the entire grow. And then I realized it was not fun and I don't want to continue doing that. But yeah, I gave up my bedroom, did it all in my bedroom, set my bedroom up as a big grow room. And yeah, started off and it was growing really good. And this was back when autoflowers were mostly male and female regulars, not feminized. Back then I remember Subcool really made that known in the community that if you get regular seeds, they're just going to be more vigorous. And I have tested it out and I have seen that it does seem like regular strains do have more vigor. You are dealing with getting males and have to take those out and whatnot. But all my plants, they were male-female style regulars. And I think it came out to about 3/4 or so were actually female. So it was actually a really nice ratio. They had some awesome vigor and they came out to be some really, really nice autoflowers. Like, for back then, for the quality you would get for autoflowers, it was like really, really good. Some of the stickiest buds I've ever grown was that Russian rocket fuel. I remember once it was done, I was trying to roll with it and it was so sticky, it would rip apart my skin on my fingers between my nails. It would like rip it and I'd be bleeding, or it would be so sticky that I would rip my papers trying to roll it. You know, it's not like the worst problem. I guess you could have some really bunk weed and not have that at all, but like this stuff was like ridiculously sticky, like almost like super gluey kind of sticky. Not usually a fan of that much stickiness, but it was some pretty damn good smoke. But back to the story. So for nutrients, I was just using some regular nutrients that the hydroponic store gave me. It was just some like crystal powder stuff that I'd mix in with the water. I forget what it was. But it did okay. It was very simple feeding schedule I gave them, and I was always trying to follow half of what the instructions would say for autoflowers. Always do at least half or maybe a little bit less. Back then that was the main thing everyone followed. When I did end up finding the males here, I did start some new seeds and I just wanted to perpetual grow. But it turned out it was a little too sketchy to continue, so I don't remember if I finished those or not. So this grow was a 9-week grow from start to finish. But near the end, it started getting a little sketchy. So I didn't have any carbon filters back then. I had a little computer fan bringing air into the room, and I thought that would be enough to, like, you know, keep it from going outside. No, as soon as we got into like a week 5 or around week 6 probably, it really started stinking. We would have people come over visiting, family too, and they'd be like, holy crap, it really smells like herb in here. Even like 10-15 feet outside the door, it really started smelling. And I was getting a little sketched out because it was a little trailer park boy-esque there. We had a Corey and Trevor there making hash every day almost. Like back when we were making water extraction. I remember my brother had these friends who'd come over and would do anything he said just to hang out and stuff. Very much like Corey and Trevor, and he would just have them make hash all day long while I was kind of protecting the grow and stuff, and it was a little wild. So the more stinky it got, the more kind of protective I got, and like really protective of people going back there and trying to take a look and stuff. And I started like really looking outside and like kind of getting a little worried because it was like really stinking. I'd go test it. I'd go walk in from outside and like see how far I could get to the house to see where you start smelling it. And I started like smelling it at the road. Like around like week 7, week 8, and I was just like, oh no, this is a little sketchy. And then one night I remember I was really sketched that like cops might be like staking us out and like watching us. And I remember someone was sitting on the side of the road and they sat there for hours, and they just seemed sketchy, and like they're just like, for some reason they're just sitting there. And then I got a little worried that it could be cops and they could be like checking us out. So just to test it, I walked out of the house and walked up to them, and they seemed like they panicked and just drove away really fast. So I was like, oh man, this is getting a little sketchy. So my autoflowers are coming out a little too good, a little too smelly, a little too dank, and it started really drawing some heat, it seemed like. So my tensions definitely got a little heightened during that time, and I got a little freaked out, and I think I cut it a little bit early because I think I wanted to take it longer. I kind of wanted to take it to week 10, but I got a little sketched out and I wanted to chop down right away. So week 9, chopped her down and started drying process, and it came out really good, and I was really happy with my results. So it kind of cemented autoflowers for me, as I saw them as a very reliable way to get a fast harvest, get into growing fast. If back then I didn't know if I was going to continue, so maybe it's just going to be a one and done, maybe do it another time. I didn't know. So I wasn't getting ready to like set up a veg room and all this kind of stuff. I just wanted to test it out, see if I like growing, and then continue from there. I thought if I wanted to sell all my gear, I could do that, probably get all my money back. But I have Autoflowers to thank for getting me into growing and really changing my life for the better. Like without Autoflowers, I might have not ever got into YouTube and creating content and taking me on all these different adventures through life. So I definitely have Autoflowers to thank for that. So it was actually during harvest time on this grow that I realized that one of my plants has a smiley face in it. And I was absolutely shocked. I was like, this is like growing art. And I'm like, this is a sign. This is a sign that I think I should continue. So it's this one. So it's this one here. The Dr. Autoflower happy face giving you the finger kind of look like that. I saw that. I was like, wow, that is absolutely awesome. I got to get a picture of this. And that right there is like a once in a lifetime, very rare occurrence where you'll see something in a plant or something. Oh man, like the odds of this happening is just like really strange. I don't know. I took it as like a sign. I'm like, this has got to be my profile picture. I was so happy with that. It's just like, I grew art. So yeah, I took it as a sign. I was like, fuck the system, keep on growing. Happy vibes, good times. Yeah, so I was pretty happy with that harvest. I think it came out to around 1.5 pounds. I think I split it with my bro, and I took like 3/4 of a pound or something like that. So I saw it as a pretty damn good investment. I think I put around like $500 into it and came out with like 3/4 of a pound, which was probably worth probably 1,800 back then or something like that. So definitely worth it. And by the end of it, it became so sketchy. Like when we were harvesting, it absolutely reeked everywhere. Like you could smell it 2 houses down. And I was just like, oh man, we gotta get this done now. We gotta get this all dried in jars as fast as possible. Usually the most stinkiest time is when you're cutting them down, when you're chopping the leaves off and stuff. And during that, I tried to do it in like 1 day, 1 or 2 days. And I remember it just absolutely reeked. And everyone was freaking out how bad it smelled. And I was just like, oh man, we're gonna get busted. Luckily, no one came knocking at our doors or anything like that. Actually, a funny story, it wasn't during this grow, I think it was a bit after, but all of a sudden one night when we were making a bunch of ice water extraction hash, police came to the door knocking, and I absolutely shit my pants, and I thought they were coming to bust us. Oh no, it wasn't that. It was... They were wanting to drop off one of my friends who got into a domestic situation with her boyfriend, and they wanted to take her to a safe place or whatever. So I was just like, holy shit. Oh, thank God. But that could have been so much worse. So that setup was very sketchy back then. I didn't continue growing because how sketchy it was. I went and got my own place and began my Dr. Autoflower YouTube channel back then. So yeah, that's my sketchy story of how I got into growing autoflowers. The first official autoflower grow. I don't think I've ever really told the full story before, but now it's out there. That's what got me into this channel. That's what started me down the road of spreading as much information and trying to help as many people as I can to help them grow their own medicine in their own homes. For pennies on the dollar. So thank you all for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here, ring that bell. The bell will let you know if there's notifications, if I got new videos coming up. I am going to start trying to post a bit more because I got some time off. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Make sure you leave a comment down below. It really helps. And until next time, peace out. Catch you guys later.